it's Rhianna. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another TMI video where I talk about periods and all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that you're not into, this is your warning. About a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, I sat down and made a video talking about basically what had happened at my last appointment regarding like my cycle being weird and everything, and how she found that my uterus was enlarged, you know, that I had fibroids or a polyp on my cervix, which if you haven't watched that video, there's a link up in the eye, and how she sent me to get lab work done and an ultrasound, and she referred me to the OBG. So I've done all the lab work and the ultrasound, and I had my follow-up with the OBG, and so now I'm just gonna sit down with y'all and talk about everything that happened. So the original reason why I even made the appointment was because my cycle was out of whack, and I was spotting all the time, and on top of that, like my cycles had gotten really light, and I was really confused and frustrated, and like I just wanted to go find out what was going on. So she actually tested me for STDs to make sure that the bleeding wasn't related to an infection, and all that came back fine, which I knew that it would. She also tested me for thyroid because it's a hormone thing and it can affect all of your hormones, so that came back fine too. So my thyroid was good, which is good news because I don't know if I've ever had my thyroid checked. So it's good to hear that my thyroid was in the normal range. She also tested to make sure that I wasn't randomly pregnant, considering the fact that like my uterus was enlarged and all that. And that, of course, that came back negative as well. So then I had the ultrasound. So I have my results right here. It's just a bunch of medical jargon that I had to Google before I filmed this video. So I had my follow-up with the OBG on Tuesday, and honestly it was kind of like the best case scenario. So if you didn't watch last week's video, I was saying how like it's probably gonna be fibroids, and you know the common treatment for that is hysterectomy, and I was like really stressed out about that because obviously, you know, Jonathan and I want to get pregnant. I can't have a hysterectomy. So I was just like really hoping that I was gonna have options that were gonna be available to me. And so one of the first things he asked me was, you're wanting to get pregnant, like you're trying to get pregnant? Yes. And he was like, okay, cool. He was like, well, it's not fibroids. He was like, it's your PCOS. And yes, your uterus is enlarged, but he's like, I've seen women who, you know, have twice the enlarged uterus as you and have been able to get pregnant, carry to term, healthy baby, you know, healthy pregnancy and all that. He was, I mean, he was just completely unconcerned. Like the way that the nurse practitioner reacted made me think that I was dying. And he was just like, yeah, it's your PCOS. And yes, your uterus is enlarged. Yes, you have cysts on your ovaries. But it's a hormone thing, and we just need to get your hormones regulated and then hopefully get you pregnant. So at this point, he did not want to put me on any like medications, like any, you know, fertility drugs. But we did talk about a course of action. So he wants me to lose an additional 30 pounds in the next 6 months. If you watched my weight loss Wednesday video, I talked about that a little bit. So I am setting myself some goals to achieve that weight loss. I'm a little stressed out because I don't really know if I can lose 30 pounds in 6 months. My weight loss is like really slow now because I've been losing weight for like 3 years. But I do have some room to play around with like my diet and stuff like that. I've been Googling a little bit, like reading a little bit about how to eat properly for PCOS. It's a lot about, you know, making sure that you're watching, because PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which a lot of times means that you are pre-diabetic. Your body doesn't handle insulin the way that it's supposed to. There is a way that you can eat to help with that. Now, keto is highly recommended for PCOS. So luckily I'm already kind of on the right track, and now I just need to kind of fine tune that. I'm also going to be trying to cut out the alcohol consumption, not related to PCOS, but related to weight loss, because I am drinking like once a week, and I think that that's impacting the scale basically. So a couple of the notes was, yes, my uterus is enlarged, but he wasn't concerned because he's seen, you know, a lot bigger or whatever. Not fibroids. The polyp or the fibroid or whatever that she saw on my cervix was basically just like acne. It was nothing, it was basically nothing to worry about, like acne of the cervix. Yay me. Essentially it was a cyst, but it wasn't anything to worry about. So he said, you know, he sees the cyst on my ovaries, it's just that, and he recommended me to start taking a couple multivitamins. So I went ahead and ordered those today. I'll be, he said a vitamin D, so I ordered that, and then I'm gonna go back on the, what is it called? The okay, so it's the myo-insitol and the D-chiro-inositol and a folic acid blend. So I will be starting that up as well. I have taken that before actually, well, not the folic acid part, but the other two, and I don't know. I didn't really think that they had done much for me, but they have a lot of benefits for people who have PCOS regarding like regulating your cycle and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna give it another shot, and basically if in 6 months I'm not pregnant, he wants me to come back. So that's kind of the, like I said, the best case scenario. Jonathan and I did talk about starting back with the Ovusens as well, so I can be temping. The one thing that I like about temping is you can really see like your body, what it's doing, and the temperature changes with your cycle, and you can really learn like where you're at in your cycle and stuff like that. So we're probably gonna be reordering the Ovusens because that one worked the best for me, and just kind of go from there. So I actually have here my measurements for my uterus and like my ovaries and stuff like that. And so I Googled it because I was like, well, what is normal? And all of my numbers are a little bit high, but I feel like nothing really crazy. I mean, like, it's just centimeters. And I understand like internal organs inside your body, like they only have so much space. But I mean, overall, like, obviously I'm not walking around looking like I'm pregnant, so it's not like that enlarged. I don't know. I'm not upset with the nurse practitioner because I don't think that she was wrong to have all the stuff done. Like, treating it the way that it was treated, I got a lot of answers that I was looking for, especially with wondering if I still had polycystic ovarian syndrome, because I have been diagnosed with it, but the last time I had an ultrasound, I was, you know, at my heaviest weight, and the results were inconclusive. So I'm not upset that this was, you know, handled the way that it was, and I'm still not like 100% sure on like the doctor either, because unfortunately people get misdiagnosed all the time. So there is still a potential that he might be wrong and it's not, but I mean, he has the ultrasound results, so he saw, you know, the results, and the results don't say anything about my uterus like being full of fibroids. So I'm hoping that that's not the case. I'm hoping that this is good information, and honestly I'm hoping that with the 30 pounds and like starting to eat better for my insulin resistance, and, you know, cutting down the alcohol and starting back on the multivitamins, that, you know, maybe we'll get pregnant. Who knows? This journey is stressful and frustrating and heartbreaking and emotional and tiring, but honestly, if one day I get to sit in front of this camera and tell y'all that I am pregnant, it'll all be worth it. And I'm really hopeful that, you know, that is gonna be the case. And I want to believe that Jonathan and I will be able to have a baby together, because ultimately that's the goal, right? So, and he seemed, the doctor seemed like really confident that I was fully capable of getting pregnant based on everything that he had seen. I know that there's all kinds of unexplained infertility, and a lot of times they think you can get pregnant and you don't. I know. I'm 37, or at least I'm fixing to be 37, and I haven't gotten pregnant. So I'm aware of the fact that there's unexplained infertility all the time, but I want to have faith that this will work out for Jonathan and I. So, you know, I really appreciate everyone who prays for Jonathan and I regarding this. I've heard so many wonderful like success stories for people who have gone through this journey and have gotten pregnant on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. So all I can do is just try to stay positive and just keep working for it, just like I have with everything else in my life. If you're also trying to conceive, or if you just want to follow along on our journey, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel. It's not all related to trying to conceive, but I do update here and there, and I would love to have you stick around. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and the notification bell, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.